So why do we keep buying Jeep Wranglers or Jeeps in general when they're so horrible? I'm going to get into it, but before I do, something that just happened. I'm obviously out driving around, and I don't know if you guys can see back. Yeah, you can. Right there behind me, there's some kind of an SUV. I don't know. It's like a Lincoln Navigator or something, and he's been tailing me for quite a while now, right? So we pulled up to a stop light, and it's red, turns green, it's got a turn arrow, and we're like fourth or fifth cars behind. And the car in front of me, by the time it gets up to the light, it's yellow, right? The turn arrow. Now, I could have gone, and chances are the guy who's in such a hurry behind me is tailing me the whole time, would have went right through that light with me. But you see, there's justice in the world. Since it's a yellow arrow, you're really supposed to stop, right? You're not supposed to speed up and try to get through it right before it turns red. So I stopped. Only because this person behind me was tailgating me the whole trip, and I knew it would make them a little unhappy. And I could see their face in the mirror, the disgust when I didn't go ahead and go through that yellow arrow. So anyway, just a lesson out there. Don't tailgate people if you're in a hurry. You might get behind somebody like me. Anyway, it's justice. That's the way I see it. So let's talk about it. The Jeep Wrangler. Why do we keep buying them? Everybody says they're unreliable, they're horrible, the quality's bad, they're not gonna last. I say that's a bunch of BS. You know, I'm on my, I don't know, umpteenth, a lot, number of Jeeps that I've had. The previous one was a Gladiator, and then a couple of more Gladiators before that one. My wife's had a Jeep Wrangler since 2018, excuse me. It's got not a ton of miles on it. Granted, it might have 6,000 miles. No, she doesn't drive it a lot. But we've had no issues with it. None, no problems. Now, in all fairness and full disclosure, I do have to cover the two issues that I've seen out of modern Jeeps, more recent Jeeps. Number one, the radio black screen. If you get a Mopar product, and it doesn't have to be a Jeep, I think it's across the board. Rams do the same thing. You're gonna have at some point, if you buy it new, that radio infotainment screen is gonna go black. It's like it quits working. It seems to me that there's some sort of an update and then it resets that happens on new vehicles. I've had it happen in every recent Jeep that I've bought and Rams. It's not a problem. They come back up pretty quickly. If anything, it will come back after you turn the vehicle off. Although I think I've only had to do that once, and that was in a Ram Rebel several years ago, where actually the whole gauge cluster, because it's all digital, and the infotainment screen went black. After I restarted it, everything was fine. I never had trouble with it again after that. The second issue that I've had, and it has to do with this idiotic auto stop system, the auxiliary battery. If you didn't know, your Jeep, if you've got auto stop, has a little like lawnmower or motorcycle size battery, more like a lawnmower, I guess. It's about yay big. How do I know that? Well, because I've replaced one in a buddy of mine's Jeep with him. He actually did all the work, but I was there, and there's a video on the channel how to do that, by the way. But it seems that after about 3 years of ownership, 5 years in my wife's case, probably because of the lack of use, that battery starts to give you troubles. It's gonna cause lights to come up on your screen, and if you have the auxiliary switches, you know, that little bank of switches down below in the center area, they won't work right. That's because that battery is somehow intermingled in with those switches, I guess. It happened on my buddy's Gladiator. But anyway, that battery seems to last about 3 years, and then you have to replace it, which wouldn't be a real big deal, although annoying, except Jeep put it right under the fuse box, and it makes it a real pain in the rear end to get to, right? You have two ways to do it. You can pull the whole fuse block from off of the top, that seems to me to be a bit risky, because when you start screwing around with the electronics or the electric parts of any vehicle, you risk having troubles, right? Or you can pull the inner fender liner off and go at it from in the wheel well. That's the way that we did my buddy's Jeep, or he did it. It seemed to work pretty well. I will say that if you have to do that and you have the ability to go ahead and pull the tire and take that inner fender all the way out, that's really the way to do it. We did not pull the tire, and we tried. We actually broke a socket trying to do it. We could not get the lug nuts off. I know he was out there jumping on a socket, trying to turn the lugs, and actually broke the socket itself. So that was kind of a drag. But taking that inner fender off will give you full access under there. It sits in a tray, and that tray is screwed in from underneath. So it's not too horrible of a job if you do it the right way, which again is pulling the tire off and then removing that inner fender. Make sure though, if you do remove the inner fender, that you have some spare push pins, because those things are probably going to get damaged. You might break one pulling it off. I think just in loosening that inner fender when we did his, we actually popped the top off of a couple, or broke a couple or something, so something that had to be replaced later on. Other than that, I haven't had any issues with the Jeep. It's been spot on reliable. I haven't had any engine problems or transmission issues or anything like that. And I've had not only a number of Jeeps, but a number of years of Jeeps. I've had several, and all of them have been spot on, no problem. So I think that this thought that Jeeps are somehow unreliable and not quality is a bunch of BS. And speaking of quality, I've never had any issue with materials either. You know, everything on the inside, all the trim panels are good. On the outside, looking at the seams and things, you know, like between the hood and the fenders, and the fender flares or covers and the sides of the fenders, all of that stuff has always been really good for me, no issues. Paint-wise, same thing. I've never had any kind of problem with poor quality paint. Can't say the same about the Tacoma. You know, one of the big gripes about the Toyota Tacoma, particularly white, is the poor quality, or the bad installation, I guess, of paint. It's a big problem. It's been going on for years, I think. And I just recently discovered that I have a clear coat problem on my 2023 Toyota Tacoma. Probably from bird droppings. I'd argue, I guess, that that's not really Toyota's fault. But then again, I have other vehicles I park outside that the birds have decorated, and I don't have any other issues, so who knows. Anyway, I just wanted to get on, kind of run through my experience with multiple Jeeps over the years. This big thought or rumor that Jeeps are somehow bad or poor quality or horrible vehicles to own really is a bunch of BS. Leave a comment. Let me know if you've had many Jeeps or a few Jeeps over the years. Did you ever have any real trouble with it? I'd just be curious to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.